Seconds left in the half. From the Cincinnati 1.
They're going to kick the field goal? I think they are. And I guess they're going to go one more snap.
Mahomes throws. Catches at the 6 and gets tackled. Inbounds. And the clock runs out. And the Bengals dodge a bullet.
The Chiefs get to the 1 and do not get any points out of the last drive.
What's up everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Before we get into today's video, you know the drill. Make sure to sack that like button and subscribe if you aren't already. And if you are, appreciate it. And let's get right into today's video. So today's video, I just want to talk about my Chiefs and about that game they lost a week ago. I've talked about it, but I haven't really gone into depth about it. I just want to get my thoughts on it. So you just saw on that video, that clip that I had playing at the beginning, you saw the sequence right before the half in the Chiefs vs. Bengals game, and you saw that the Chiefs came up short a yard there at the end of the half. They're at the 1 yard line, opted to go for it instead of kick the field goal, and you can see Patrick Mahomes kind of overruling what Andy Reid wanted in going for it instead of kicking the field goal. In my opinion, I think it was the right move to go for it. I think you're at the 1 yard line and it's right before the half and you have the best offense in football. I think it was the right move to go for it. What I didn't like was how they just went in there unprepared, and the way I can tell they were unprepared was Mahomes thought they still had a timeout. He was calling timeout after the play was over. There was no timeouts. So that just proves that he kind of went in there recklessly. And if you're going to throw the ball, you got to throw it in the end zone. Me personally there, though, I would have done a run play. I think I would have done a right up the middle run with Clyde Edwards-Helaire or a fullback run in there. Probably not a QB sneak, but I would have done a run. But hey, they went for it, they tried it, and it didn't work. But that carried on to the rest of the half, and it really messed with the team's mentality for the rest of the half. And that's uncharacteristic of this Chiefs team. Usually when they make a mental mistake, they're able to, get back on track. And they just were not able to in this game. A lot of people want to just flat out blame the game on Patrick Mahomes. Look, he did not play a great game. He didn't play a good game. He played a slightly above average game, in my opinion. I watched the game, and he did not play terrible. Looking at his stats, he threw 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Look, he didn't step up in the key situations. And if you're going to be the $500 million man, you need to step up in the key situations. So I put him at fault for that. And there were certainly moments where he cost the team's opportunities. But I think the Chiefs losing this game was much more than Patrick Mahomes not playing his best football. I think in the second half, Andy Reid really messed up. I don't blame Andy Reid for letting Patrick Mahomes overrule him there before the half. What I do blame Andy Reid for is letting that get to the team's head, or at least make it seem like it get to the team's head, and it carry over into the second half. And his play calling in the second half really did not make much sense. I liked what they were doing in the first half. Obviously, it was working, but what they were doing made sense. They were running the ball a lot, keeping the Bengals off balance. The Bengals' defense's weakness is stopping the run. In the second half, I would have just gotten that running game going, not so much because I have a 21-10 lead, still a lot of time, and you only have a 21-10 lead, but because that's their weakness. Get the running game going, and clock will go by, and that you're exploiting their weakness. And so they kind of went bombs away. Mahomes wasn't himself, and they never really adjusted to what was being thrown at them. So Andy Reid, big part of the reason why I think the Chiefs came up a little bit short. But what's got to be remembered is, when a team loses, it's not always because they blew it. Sometimes the other team just really played a heck of a game, and I think the Bengals really gave it all they had in that second half, and they just were the better team in that second half. I truly do not believe the Bengals are the better team than the Chiefs, but they did beat them in that second half. They outdid them in that second half. And it's not like Joe Burrow did anything that spectacular. I like Joe Burrow, but, there's a little bit of overhype going on here with him, in my opinion. But another thing to, look back at is, there was a play on a punt return where Mecole Hardman got smacked after he had fair caught it. That should have been a penalty, 15 yards. Then on that later in that same possession after that punt, he got smacked out of bounds. That should have been a penalty, 15 yards. And that could have affected that drive, and it was a drive the Chiefs went on to not put any points on the board with. And then there was a unsportsmanlike call that they threw the flag and then they picked it up. It was in the fourth quarter where a Chief player got pushed after the play was over and fell to the floor. Now, he did a good acting job. He didn't fall back as much as he really did, but it was a call that you see called a lot, and they didn't call it. But I'm not going to blame the game on referees because at the end of the day, the Chiefs just did not get it done. But another thing to look at, which was kind of interesting, in that overtime game, Joe Mixon, on the game-winning run pretty much that put the Bengals into chip shot field goal range, he was not touched by contact. He went down by himself and wasn't touched and let go of the ball. Technically, that should have been a fumble. And when Andy Reid tried to challenge it, Tony Romo thought it was because of an illegal formation, that Andy Reid was trying to challenge an illegal formation. It wasn't that. It was that he was trying to challenge that was a fumble, but apparently what the refs told Andy Reid was that he gave himself up, which that just doesn't even make sense. He didn't give himself up. He fell. He tripped. He didn't down himself. He tripped. You could tell. But again, that would have been a kind of a cheap way to get the ball back, because it's not like Joe Mixon just like coughed up the ball. He let go of the ball thinking he was touched, so it would have been a kind of silly way to get it, but technically it should have been a fumble. But again, you can't blame that on the Chiefs. I mean, Tyreek Hill dropped a big pass on a second down, which then led to a third down, and then Travis Kelce dropped the pass on third down, and the Chiefs had to punt. And Chris Jones really did not step up in the clutch. There were several times where he had Joe Burrow dead to rights and let him slip away and get away for a first down. And if you're going to be paid top 5 defensive tackle money, you need to play better in that in the key situations. And at the end of the day, Chris Jones, he had some great moments this year, but overall, he's not playing like the guy they're paying him to be. And Frank Clark, don't let me get started on him. But unfortunately, Chiefs came up short in this game, and I don't think it's completely just they blew it. Obviously, they had a 21-3 lead, so yes, they did blow it. But I think it's part of it was more so the Bengals just, playing a heck of a game than the Chiefs just having a meltdown. And another thing to look at is, Patrick Mahomes, there were so many situations where he had all day to throw, and no one's getting open. What are the receivers doing out there? Or is Mahomes just not pulling the trigger? Now, there was a play on a 2nd and goal, or a 3rd and goal, I believe, and it was on that final sequence before overtime, where Mahomes, on the same play, had Travis Kelce open in the end zone and Tyreek Hill open, and he didn't throw it to either one. He hesitated. If he puts that ball there, I think he gets it in there, and it would have been a touchdown, Chiefs win, but he didn't. But, like I said, I'm just trying to point out all the little things here and there that went wrong for the Chiefs, but overall, I don't think that this is a cause for panic for the near future. Obviously, this really sucks right now. This is a team that really deserves more than one Super Bowl. The Mahomes, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Tyrann Mathieu, Chris Jones, the era, this group of players, they deserve more than one Super Bowl for how great they've been since 2018, even though Tyrann Mathieu wasn't on the team in 2018, but you know what I mean. So, but it's a shame, and they still can get another ring. I think next year they're going to be right back at it, doing their thing. They're not going to be able to retain a lot of these guys that they have. I think on offense, Mahomes obviously will be back. He's going to be there forever. Elaire will be back. Kelce will be back. Hill will be back. Mecole Hardman will be back. All those main guys in the O-line, they're going to be back. All those main guys are going to be back. Defense, a little bit more question marks going on. Will Melvin Ingram come back? They picked him up in the middle of the season. He had a heck of a run with the Chiefs. Will Frank Clark be back? Hopefully not, actually. Will Tyrann Mathieu be back? Now, Tyrann Mathieu, in 2019 and 2020, his first 2 years with the Chiefs, he was the best safety in football. He was playing like he was the best safety in football for those first 2 years, and he was the best safety in football for the Chiefs. And he really, I don't think the Chiefs win Super Bowl 54 without him. But this third year now with him, he has really, really dropped off. And I don't know if it was just a fluke year or if age is catching up for him, with him. I think next year will already be his 9th year in the league. He's already, already into his almost mid-30s. He's already getting on that older side, and if the Chiefs re-sign him, I think he's going to want a big contract to get the bag one last time. And do the Chiefs really want to make a big investment in a guy who's coming off of his worst year with you and is already on the wrong side of 30? I don't know. Regardless, despite the people that the Chiefs could lose, and despite the mental roughness of these last 2 years, how they've ended for the Chiefs, I think this team will bounce back fine. They're psychologically strong and they're physically strong. I think they have too great of a coach and too great of a roster to just completely, collapse next season. And I think they're at least, next year, they're at least an 11-win team. At the very least, they're an 11-win team, and I could see them having I can see them being a 13-win team next season. Yeah, that's pretty much it for today's video. I just wanted to, give a more in-depth analysis of this game. I truly do believe that the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL, and they're the best team this year in many ways. And, they just came up short. The best team doesn't always win. We all know that, but so it goes.